What's up, everybody?
What's going on, everybody?
Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in.
Yes, another episode, another Friday, another topic, another discussion,
another situation.
as always. So,
Yeah.
before we begin, please follow us. If you're watching us, smash that like button.
Subscribe. Subscribe. Like, share it.
Share. Yeah, we're on a lot of different platforms on social media. If you find us on Instagram, the link in the bio on the link tree will take you for everywhere that we are. But you can watch us if you can't see us, you can listen to us, and if you want to watch us, we're on YouTube, which is probably where you're watching us now.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. And before we begin, Marvin will take us away with the topic of the week.
Thank you so much, sir. This week, a special one. It's taking a break.
Say it into the mic again.
Taking a break in a relationship.
Hey, y'all heard that?
Taking a break, and also, in essence, getting back with an ex.
Yeah, I mean, in order to get back with someone, there's a break in between, whether it's a couple months, long term,
a couple years.
So we'll see how long we can kind of jam back. If not,
if we can
just kind of go with the flow,
make it in one episode. Let's do it. Taking a break in a relationship. What's your stance on it?
So I think taking a break in terms of what, like just getting time apart.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. What's the reason? And what's the purpose of the break, right? Because some people say, well, I just need some time to figure things out. Maybe some people they're overwhelmed, and they just want to clear their head. And then it's also the length of the break, right? Some people say I just need a couple of days. Some people need a couple of months. Is that still like a break, or aren't you technically just at that point broken up, right? So, have you ever taken a break with a partner and then found your way back, or what's your take on it?
So obviously, we've discussed before how I'm very different now than I was back then.
Sure.
When it comes to taking a break, I would only think a break should be taken. I mean, if there's some sort of stress that's kind of dividing the relationship, I mean, I can understand where people could be overwhelmed, but I feel like if you get into a relationship with someone, you should be tackling the problems together.
100%,
I don't know if a break really makes sense. Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does because you do need a little bit of distance. Mind you, they do say distance makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes you need that distance or that space in order to miss somebody again. However, when you get into a relationship, I feel like you've kind of overcome those preliminary type of feelings where, okay, once we're one and once we're together, we should be tackling everything together.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, a relationship, essentially, if the goal is marriage and stuff like that, and having kids with somebody, that's the goal. But at that point, you're not going to be able to, hey, I'm going to go take a break. So it's like you're at the easy stage in life. I'm presumably there's no kids involved, there's no marriage, and things get rocky. Like, you're going to take a break and to figure things out and to clear your mind. Like, the goal is to work through this together and grow as a couple and not grow apart, which my opinion, that's what's going to happen when you take a break. We talked about this in the past. I'm very opposed to taking breaks because I was in a situation where that's what it was. We were in together, but at the same time, things were very blurry, right? And we talked about this, and when there's no rules, you don't know what's going on. One person may want the break, the other one doesn't, but the other person is agreeing to the break because they don't want to lose that person. So they're like, okay, let's go on a break. And then it's a couple of days, it's a couple of weeks, it's a couple of months. And it's like, I feel like taking a break, unfortunately, ends up hurting at least one person more than the other. And so, I think if you need a break, you need to break up and part ways. I don't think setting up rules and stuff like that and be like, okay, like give me a couple of days, and then there's this pressure like, oh, I only have a week or 2 weeks to figure things out. What if I'm not ready by then? So I think it's like, I'm very opposed to taking a break. I think if it comes to that, try working on things together. And I think and I'm not saying like you have to like get locked in a room and like figure things out here and there. And I think sometimes a couple of days can be refreshing to kind of like clear your head and kind of like really figure things out. A couple of days, right? But after that, if you still need more time, I think it's best to say, hey, at this moment we can't be together, and then you part ways, and that's great, and that's okay, and things happen. But leading somebody on or having somebody on, on this, just giving some false sense of hope, like, oh, we're just on a break. And then it's like, what if they, and then the one person's waiting for you to come back, and what if, that never happens? So I feel like it could be a little bit misleading. And maybe it might not even be anybody's intention, but I feel like the longer you go without somebody, all you're doing is learning to live without that person. So, my stance on it. We've talked about it in the past. Taking a break, I don't think it ever ends up, in a good situation. Now, and we didn't talk about this the last time, but I've actually, it wasn't really a break. Like we broke up at the point. One person that I was dating years ago, and we were only dating for a couple of months, less than half a year, and we broke up, and we were separated for a couple of months, and eventually we found our way back. And we lasted 2 years, amazing years. It was good. So that time apart.
Why did you guys split?
We split because I just started a new job and things were rocky, and she actually started talking to her ex. I don't know if we actually were friends at the time, obviously, and we talked about it. This was years ago. I don't know if you remember. She actually got back with her ex. Oh. Why? Yeah, pretty much. We were still together, so she obviously talked to the guy behind my back. So what she did was, it was messed up. So we broke up, and I didn't talk. I resented her at the moment. It was hurtful. And then a couple of months went by, and things did a turn, and I reached out, and so and then we talked again, and she really showed me a different side. Like, she really changed. And then but I don't think a break would have even if there was nobody else involved, would have been sustainable at the moment. Sometimes you just gotta, pack your bags and part ways. No contact, no nothing, no maybe, no ifs. And we found our way back, and it lasted great. It was 2 years, and obviously it didn't work out, but that's life. But so it wasn't like a break; it was more of a breakup. But taking a break, I don't think ever ends up in a way where you'd want it to. Right.
So my position is, first, I think the reason for the break should be identified. Why do you need space? And if so, space from what? If you need space from one another, I'm going to speak from my current position. I know that sometimes I'll get overwhelmed if I deal with someone for too long. Then again, we've also discussed, I'm trying to relearn my own kind of emotional stance of how to open up to people, to feel vulnerable again. Haven't really done that, just haven't mastered that just yet. However, hey, we're trying. But you have to have the conversation to understand, what's going on within the relationship. Because as Marvin said, as you go down the line, and the relationship gets more serious, I think that it's good to have some sort of time apart, but it's not a part where it's like, hey, what's going on? It's, hey, you know what? I love you, dude. I just got to disconnect a little bit. We're still together, but, let me just give me a little bit of space so I can kind of relieve myself. But to really part ways temporarily, because then it's like, okay, what are the rules? Do we see other people?
That's the thing.
Yeah. So are we still talking? Do I still call you? And then what about if this happens and you have a child? Like, how does a child communicate with one another? Like, what's going to happen? So it can create a rift in the relationship. But at the same time, identify what that is, and as a relationship and as a partner, be there for them and understand what it is. If you feel like you don't agree with the reason for the break, then you say, okay, Matthew Hussey said it, that, if someone were to say, oh, I'm not sure about you, that's when you as a partner will say, well, if you're not sure about me, I thought I was sure about you.
That's the thing.
But if you're not sure about me, and you need this space, then I'm definitely not sure about you. Then this is really something. I thought we were on the same page, but clearly we're not. Mm-hmm. That's where you need to step up and say, okay, you know what? Instead of just taking a break, maybe we should completely cut ties for a bit. And by a bit, I don't mean, hey, still contact me every day, call me every week, or whenever you're bored, because that's usually what happens when people break up, that you want to get that distance because you don't want to fully be committed and involved within the relationship. You want to get a little bit of space. So once you feel comfortable, you're tired, you're sad, you're bored, you want someone entertained, that your ex-partner is always going to be there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? at least,
Something to fall back on.
Yes, if you do a break. So if you are going to do a break, it does need to be where it's not going to be like maybe a couple days will work, but more of a separation to disconnect your mind, not so much of a break of the relationship. That's something that you tackle together. Now, if you want to be like, hey, look, you know what? I think that we should take some time apart. You break up.
Yeah.
Because if you continue hoping, like Marvin said, it could result in nothing. Now you're holding back when the other person might be advancing forward. So then who's winning in this part? You have to find out what between you and your partner, what's going to make the most sense for you guys to both find your own happiness, because with individual happiness, you can come together to really build happiness, but you can't expect someone to do that fully. So be on the same page, have that conversation. And if you choose to have a break, use that time to invest within yourself to figure out, okay, if they want this space from me, what is it that's going on? Identify that, and I think that you guys can have a very positive relationship down the line. But again, the time that's being taken in between, make sure that you're using the best of it. Don't just wait hopeful, like, okay, well, maybe they're going to write to me. Maybe, I missed them. I want to write to them. No, if you need a break, take advantage and use that for yourself.
Absolutely.
If they choose that, you want to make sure that you're going to be reaping the benefits as well. It's difficult because people may not agree. And if you don't agree, you might not want to be in that relationship at the moment. Now, if it's obviously long-term, again, you need to discuss to really understand what the cause is. And then as a relationship, you figure out, okay, how can we do this together? If we can't, maybe we shouldn't be together.
Yeah. I feel like the key when somebody says, we need to take a break, the narrative, okay, like what's the intention behind it? So there's some people that say, like, I want to take a break to explore other options. And if that's the case, you might as well just break up. I'm not saying you can never find each other out there, but at that point, a break is not sufficient.
Yeah,
and
something else is up.
Exactly.
Where it's like, okay,
you
feel,
you feel like something is missing out. So if you have to explore other options, and by all means, like it could happen. You can wake up one day and fall out of love. It happens.
That's it.
But then don't be like, we should take a break. And then in the back of your mind, you want to explore other options when this other person really, really deeply loves you. Like, that's not fair to them, and also not fair to you and your time.
They're still fully committed.
Exactly.
While you're there probably testing the waters elsewhere.
Testing the waters, exactly. Like, circles back to the rules. Like, can we see other people? And if one person suggests that, what's their motive? Like, you really have to dig deep. But you got to be honest with yourself. But if your partner, you and your partner, you really love each other, and you're at an impasse, and you've been together for years, and something's stuck, something isn't right, but you love that person, you just want to be with that person, you don't want to be with anybody else, and the other person feels the same way, and you're transparent, but you're on the same page, but you're not on the same page, and
same book, different page.
Right. Well, yeah, like you're on the same page as far as you love this person, right? But there's something that you can't.
Different paragraph.
Exactly. Yes. You can't move along. You can't move along, right? And then in that situation, a break for some time to clear your mind might be advisable, right? Because you have history, you love this person, and you want to be with that person. Take some time apart. But if the narrative is for you to like maybe just see what's going on out there, you want to party with the boys, you want to go out and explore other options. Nothing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but then don't use. I think we should take a break as an excuse to kind of get out of that commitment that you have with that person.
I will argue that maybe there are some doubts, whether it's early on or maybe down the line. Maybe things will start uncovering where you're like, maybe this isn't really what I thought, or something's a bit off. I thought this was going to be different.
Yeah.
People will take a break because they probably do want to, test the waters elsewhere. And then they'll have a revelation and say, I don't want to do this. I want to be with my partner. This was a mistake. Right. I thought I needed this distance, but in actuality, this isn't what I want.
Right, but is that fair for you to have this doubt and the other person knows that they want to be with you and only you, and you're like, oh, well, I want to see what's out there, or I'm not really sure. I thought this was going to be different, and you can feel that way, but then I say, exit the relationship, and then you try it out. Like don't hold on to one person and try to see if you can find another person. Like, that's not fair. You're either all in or you're all out. You don't stand by the door looking out and then, one head in and then your hands out,
But at the same time, I do feel that if it gets to the point that a break is, a part of the discussion, there must be some sort of divide within the relationship for it to slowly taper into that direction. So if that's the case, maybe you can say, you know what? we do need a short break. I'm not feeling it right now. I'm a little confused with my own emotions. The partner may say, shit, I know we're having problems, but we can still work through this. You know, sometimes you'd be beating a dead horse because you trying to force a solution.
No, of course.
Is overkill for the other person when they're in that position. So sometimes a short break is, and as long as you maintain communication and comprehend, I always say, everyone's like, oh, communication's so important. But you can communicate all you want. If you guys don't understand what the motive is and what direction you guys are going to be going into,
Right.
there's no comprehension.
Comprehension. No, I get it.
You guys can talk all you want. And that goes back into what I just said. Hey, I'm trying to communicate with you. I want to make this work. What's going on? When the other person, you're going to be on your own thing. Like, I can't do this right now. I can see why a break would come into play. But as long as the communication is there and the understanding of what the motive is, then that break might be acceptable. But again, you have to know your partner and what they're willing to take. And you as a partner, if that does happen, you have to now sack up and say, well, if that's what you're going to do, like I had just said, clearly I'm completely wrong about what's happening here. I thought we were on the same page, but apparently we're not. If what you need is a break, maybe we should just fully break up.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm leaning towards that because if I'm with somebody and they one day tell me, hey, I think we should take a break, then I say, you know what, okay, but then we break up. And there's no, for me, I'm
so
not.
You would never take some sort of like brief time apart.
Then
You have, but it worked.
But it wasn't a break. It was a breakup. Like we were done.
How long in between?
4 or 5 months. 5 months.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 or 5. I was just like, how much was this? Been a while. Yeah, but there was like no contact. She was in another relationship, and
right.
I was like hurting. But yeah, that wasn't.
But then
break.
you followed up with her.
Exactly, and I'm so glad I did because and then we saw each other and it was like it was a different person, and she really regretted what happened and she was remorseful.
6 months ish.
The break? Yeah, it was under 6 months. Yeah, and so it was enough for us to like for it. And then again, we were only dating for like 4 or 5 months. There wasn't much baggage to begin with. It's like it was just that one incident, and so we recovered nicely.
So but I mean, if it worked for you, why would you advise against it then?
I'm not advising against a break. I'm advising.
Oh, but you are saying that it was more of a breakup.
Yeah, it was 100%. She was with somebody else. Is that a break?
You're right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if and that's like a breakup is not a death sentence to the relationship. Essentially, I mean, at the end of the day, if you can find each other, if you can find your way back to that person. I'm not saying like you can never speak to this person in your life again. But if somebody tells me, hey, I think we should take a break, then I'm like, like I'm not gonna be committed to you if you need time apart and you want to figure things out. But I'm not gonna be hanging around to wait. And maybe I have a bitter taste in that because I've had some experiences with that where I've waited for somebody and it backfired immensely. So for me, I have that bitter taste in my mouth that if I'm not gonna wait for anybody. If they're not sure that they want to be with me, then you have to do what's best for you. And I always say you got to put your own needs first. And if you are happy in a relationship, I'm not saying you got to stay just because the other person doesn't want to take a break, but then part ways. And if it's meant to be, I truly believe you'll find each other again. But taking a break, man, I feel like if you need to take a break, you need to break up.
So slight divide, because I do feel like there may come again. I don't even remember the last time I was really in a relationship where I had a break.
Okay,
like that. I'm more of the once I get into something, I don't give up.
Right,
I fight. I really do. Because if I pick you, since it's so hard for me to pick someone, if I pick you, I want to make sure that I can do everything in my power to
exhaust all the options before you cut ties.
Yeah. I want to make sure that if there's really something in between us that we can't fix together, then maybe ultimately we do need a breakup. I've never really done a break. However, now I'm learning more about how it could help, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. But I guess when the time comes that I do it, or if anybody can kind of tell me experiences on that, I'll be a little bit more in tune and more well prepared for this. However, based on everything that I've said, every relationship's obviously going to be different, and then both partners may even be different. Most of the times it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you have to have that communication and that understanding of what position it is. And I'm sure most relationships, because look, there's also the possibility of having an open relationship. You know, I'm not saying within that current relationship, that example we've been using, but in other examples where there is an open relationship where they are open and they'll entertain different partners, but they still have that chemistry bond, and that deep bond to be together. You know, in that case, you know, what would a break serve for? So then if you need a break in that kind of relationship, it's obviously not going to be to see other people. It's probably because, you know, it could be work where one's overwhelmed.
I get that, but that's more rather of a small percentage of relationships. You know, that's not most other relationships. I feel like if the majority of relationships, when somebody says, "Hey, I need a break," I think the majority of the time it's something's broken and they need to break up.
For example, I can see myself I'm not in a relationship right now, but if I were to entertain someone, I mean, we literally just had a conversation. We usually record as soon as I get out of work, and it's been like around 4 or 5 o'clock when we record. We're recording it's 5:30, you know, going towards 6 right now, because we were talking and I was telling him how overwhelmed I was with everything. I can't balance a relationship, but now what if I already was in a relationship and I had to carry all this baggage? That's another thing. Remember how I just told you, like I'm going to burn myself out if I continue, you know, with work, the editing, this and that, and Imagine if I had a partner. How would I do everything?
I mean, if you were in a relationship, you would dedicate time, even if it's Sundays, you're dedicated with that person,
and then the rest, you know. But that's just an example
of
how a break might make sense. Where, again, how long is a break? You know, a month, it wouldn't really fall into that category. I think a month, there's obviously something deeper that people need to heal. Maybe a break is necessary because, you know, someone cheated. So then, in order for you to try to understand, if you know what, maybe they cheated, they made a mistake. A lot of people will be like, "Fuck that, I'll never get back with them." But, you know, have you cheated? Yes. I've cheated. Have you cheated?
Yes.
Yeah, he doesn't want to say it unless I say it first. That's fine. And did they get back with you?
Yes, they did.
Was it difficult?
Yeah, extremely.
You see? So in situations like that, you know, maybe a break or time is what's needed. So I remember when this first happened, his most recent relationship, you know, I was kind of there helping him, guiding him, coaching him. This is when I really wanted to start.
Right.
And at first, because especially when you're the one that cheats, and I'm going to speak for myself, if you want to relate, you can, but I don't want to point Marvin out. You feel extremely guilty, and you really want to go into overdrive to put in more effort. Right. That's when you're going to overwhelm your partner, because they can't accept what you're willing to offer right now. They're completely broken. This is a little bit of a very specific situation, but in that time, you know, it's like, you know what, I love you so much. What you did is unforgivable, but maybe, you know, since I love you so much, we can discuss this differently down the line. But right now, obviously, we're not in the position to do so. Yeah. A break might be advantageous for both of you. You're gonna be thinking, oh, she's gonna go find someone else, she's gonna start talking, which is true, could happen. But at the same time, without that break, she won't be able to really understand if this is what she really wants down the line. If she really wants to accept you for your faults, maybe it was a mistake and you become stronger. That's where you take that break to see if you want to break.
Yeah, you know, like I get what you're saying. My instance was different. Like I wasn't like I was like I know what I did was absolutely wrong, and it was unexcusable. And instead of like trying to make it all right overnight, I was like, I right now I know you cannot be with me, and if you ever want to try this out and work on this, I'm here, but I'm not gonna overwhelm you. Like I was on the other side. I was like,
no, at first you did poke a little bit, because you were concerned every week when she's like, oh, she's sending me this, but then she tells me this, or like I'll see her, she'll come over, but then she tells me nothing.
What I think this. You talk. I know.
I said your most recent ex.
Yeah. But no, there was a time where we had like no contact, and that. I mean, yeah, of course I wanted to get back with her. I wasn't gonna be like, oh, see ya. Yeah. But at the same time, I was understanding that you can't just pretend like nothing happened. Yeah. And so that was key for me as well. Where I was like, okay, like you need your space and figure things out. And it wasn't really like a break. Like we were done. And then obviously she managed to forgive me, and it was a uphill battle. Like it was hard to come back from that. Yeah. But you know, I get it. So you need at that point you need time to. I wouldn't consider that a break. I was like, we're broken up, and then she.
But how long were you guys split for? From
like a few weeks, maybe like.
See what I mean? Is that a breakup? So now we're gonna argue what's a breakup then? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily classify as whatever. But I get it. Sometimes I'm not saying breaks are can have a suited purpose. You know, I do agree, but in severe situations like they can. But to me they're ill-advised.
Yeah. For any other example, I would say I would think if you're in a relationship, work through whatever issues may be causing the break. And
excuse me, sorry.
Where's my hand sanitizer?
I need to have
it's over there.
Shoot, sorry.
Coronavirus has entered the chat.
Oh boy.
If you feel that something is going on, obviously I think as a relationship and as partners, you discuss it and work through it. If there's anything that gets a little bit deeper than that, I do think that going separate ways completely, because I think what happens during some breaks, there's that what's happening kind of situation.
And it's like,
so one person keeps trying to talk while the other person keeps getting more distant.
Right. And then it's like you want to keep tabs on them. Then you see you go on Instagram, one of her friends posted her. She's there.
No, not even that.
At brunch, and you're like, oh shit.
You're going even further. I'm going very simple to the point that, let's say for example, you and I were in a relationship, right? And I want to work things out, but you need your distance. The more I try, the more I'm going to push you away, because I'm not allowing you to get distant.
Right.
But
that's what I'm saying. Like a break is like, it kind of, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's better just to say we're broken up, to not have any expectations. Because a break insinuates that there's back together. But sometimes that isn't going to happen. So if you say, hey, I need a break, that comes with that expectation. So it's clear to say, hey, we're done. I need my time. Don't consider it a break. I'll say it's a breakup. And if we find out if I can forgive you or if you can forgive me, and we find a way back, great. But there's no expectations. I'm not gonna make any promises. And that kind of relieves also a lot of the pressure. Because if it's a break, you're like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Is she gonna see other people? Is he gonna see other people? And then you have all these rules that if you say we're broken up, are non-existent.
Right.
So I mean that's just my opinion. No, it's not an easy subject to talk about. And we could go on for hours probably. But
the beauty of it is, we're doing this every Friday. So throughout the week, we ask the questions. You guys comment or have commented in this case, and you've shared your experiences. And that's where everybody kind of learns. So moving forward, let's continue commenting.
Yeah, let us know. Maybe you have an instance where a break
DMing.
It brought you guys back to life and you guys lived happily ever after. Let us know. Because we don't know. We don't always have the answers, right?
We don't know. Yeah. Right. So we're not... we got about a minute. That one's a little bit earlier. Remember? Yes, I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. Okay. We don't have all the answers, but I feel like I have a gift, and Marvin's amazing. He's doing everything to do the same. We're trying to do so, but we can't do this without people giving us their experiences and sharing. If you're free to create the conversation, comment down below to our posts. If you want to keep it private, DM us, and we'll kind of crop it out, clean it up. We'll keep it anonymous. That way we can still post it, and then people can respond. And then that's where you could be like, oh shit, I wonder what they're gonna say. And you tune in. Everybody's on the same page. We all learn. Everybody love everybody.
Yep.
With that being said,
do we go into the next one, or do you want to just wrap it up?
No, let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Happy Friday. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching today's content. We hope you guys enjoyed the show.
And if you did, please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below. And follow us on every other social media platform. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go ahead and follow us, leave us a comment, and any feedback helps. Whatever you leave us, we'll be able to touch up on another show, or we'll be able to get back to you with any other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.